Good afternoon, church family. I knew they were going to spell my name wrong again, because I'm a good Ukrainian, and my last name is Demchuk, and it's not Demchuk. It doesn't have a C before the K. I get that from my father, and I get that from my grandfather, so there's no changing it. When I was a kid, I used to be a little bit embarrassed about it because I was called all kinds of names, dumb truck and whatever. I'm not going to go into that. So things have been going on in my mind about exactly what I wanted to share with all of you, and listening to Gary, it's just awesome testimony, and I just felt like I wanted to share just a little bit about my life. I really wasn't going to do that, but I come from a Ukrainian heritage. My grandfather came to Canada just before World War I, and then met my grandmother in Canada. And my father was born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And my grandfather became an Adventist after he arrived in Canada. And he, within the church, as he got a little bit older, he translated the hymnal for the Canadian conference into Ukrainian, because there's a lot of Ukrainians in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and that. So anyway, my grandfather was an Adventist minister. He ministered the Russian church in Los Angeles for many years. My dad did not follow in his footsteps. He actually went to hell and became an attorney, and according to my grandmother. On my mother's side, I am a fourth generation Adventist. My great grandfather, Shelton, who put 6 kids through school in Iowa, was a call porter. He went from door to door selling Adventist books. That's what they used to do back then. And my grandmother was one of 6 children, and he managed to raise that family. My grandmother then met my grandfather and came to California with my mother when they were very young, and had a very successful nursing home business. And so on that side, I'm fourth generation. And when my great grandfather was in the hospital towards the end of his life, he was 99, almost 100. And I went to visit him about a week before he passed away. And he said, "Michael," he says, "the first 100 years are the hardest." He said, "the second 100, I'm just going to kick back and wait for the Lord to come." And that was back in around about 1976 or 77, something like that. So it's been a little bit over 50 years. So I'm expecting the Lord to come within the next 40 or 50 years. Hopefully a lot sooner than that. I'm really looking forward to him coming sometime before 2025 or 2030. So I think we all need to develop a good relationship with him. There's a book that one of my very best friends that I met when I was a first grader at the Ontario Seventh-day Adventist School. Oh, by the way, I went through the whole Adventist, elementary school, academy, Loma Linda University, that whole thing, and then I became a nursing home administrator. But being a third generation on my father's side and a fourth generation on my mother's side didn't prevent me from having to join Alcoholics Anonymous, having to join Cocaine Anonymous. Those are groups that actually I found more spirituality there than I did in some of my Bible classes, and so I met some really good people that I'm still good friends with. So anyhow, there's a book that one of my best friends gave me. It's called My Utmost for His Highest. It's by Oswald Chambers. He's not Adventist, but he's a pretty spiritual guy. And it's this is a daily devotional, and one of the devotionals this last week was on sanctification. I believe that I am justified because I believe that Jesus Christ did die for us, and that we then go into the sanctification process. And I'll just read just a little bit from him. He quotes from 1 Thessalonians 4:3. "This is the will of God, your sanctification." The death side. In sanctification, God has to deal with us on the death side as well as on the life side. Sanctification requires our coming to the place of death, but many of us spend so much time there that we become morbid, and that's where I was stuck in that for decades. There is always a tremendous battle before sanctification is realized. Something within us pushing with resentment against the demands of Christ. When the Holy Spirit begins to show us what sanctification means, the struggle starts immediately. Jesus said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own life, he cannot be my disciple." And then he closes, "When I pray, Lord, show me what sanctification means for me. He will show me. It means being made one with Jesus. Sanctification is not something Jesus puts in me. It is himself in me." And I think that's where most of us are at today, is doing the things that I always thought, I got to do more. I got to work towards it. I got to earn it. Well, Jesus paid that price for me on the cross, and it's taken almost until now to realize that. And one special person in my life is Kristen. Kristen is my second wife, the mother of my children. I drug her through all kinds of terrible stuff, and luckily I had two really good children from that marriage, a son and a daughter. And then Kristen lost her first husband, to cancer. He was a Vietnam vet, had very bad cancer. Kristen nursed him, and then shortly after his death, we met and developed a life together. And she's a shining star. My mother always said she's a star, one of the stars in my crown if I get to heaven. But she has a daughter with two lovely grandsons, young guys, about 2.5 and one going on 1. And it's an interesting thing. Kristen and I met in 2005, introduced again by my very best friend from first grade that showed me this book. Her daughter and my son graduated high school together, knew each other for 4 years in high school, and graduated in 2003, but we didn't meet until 2005. And when we had a little party, and my son Simon and her daughter Shannon saw each other, they go, "I know you." "Well, I know you. We were in class together." So it's really interesting. My God has a real sense of humor. I've had epiphanies every once in a while that my guardian angel, who's standing right here somewhere, he's probably got to duck his head because he's just huge. In order to try and keep me in line, I just picture him as just this great big gorilla guy. And I am truly blessed today. I spent my career was in the nursing home business. Out of college, I got licensed and ran nursing homes all my life. If anybody has a nursing home question, I can easily answer that for you. But through all the different things that he's brought us to this church, to this community. Kristen's mother, she's a Latter-day Saint. She bought one of the first homes down in Sun River. She's lived here since '98. And we moved up here to be closer to her. Kristen put herself through nursing school. She was an LVN and RN, and so her mother had a couple of little strokes, and so we moved up here to be closer to her. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I was going to retire in a senior community in St. George, Utah. But I retired in 2017. I put 35 years into the nursing home industry. And so we moved closer, and then we started coming, and we've just found a really great church family. You've welcomed Kristen with open arms. She's probably knows a lot more of you than I do. I'm really bad with names, so I have to say your name over and over again. But anyway, I just thank the pastor for giving me the opportunity to share, and my church family that we do truly love, and we are blessed to be here. Thank you very much.